I'd like to call to order the Shade Tree Commission meeting of June 22nd, 2023. And if we could have a roll call, Heather, please.
Adams,
Here.
Polo,
Here.
here. A quorum this evening.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. All right, could we pause for a moment of silence and then stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Okay. Do we have any suggested changes or amendments to the agenda tonight? No? Hearing none, then like to make a motion to consider approving the agenda. All right, first, second, all right, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Our big public has no comment on adding any agenda items. All right, so minutes, moving on. So does anybody have any comments or suggested changes to the minutes from May 25th, 2023? None?
No.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from May 25th, 2023. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. All right, reports. Report from EAC. I don't think Cindy's going to make it tonight. So we'll move on to report from the Township Arborist. John?
So on Tuesday, I met with Public Works to tour a bunch of parks and some little nooks and crannies throughout the township that inhabited a bunch of ash trees. Trying to read off his sent me here. So one was at 209 Bishop Hollow Road. In the back, we have a little small parcel, bunch of dead ash trees, a couple that have been treated that are still looking fine. Herb those. Start seeing some die line. Township parking lot. There's one dead hornbeam tree in the parking lot, as you saw if you go along the back. There's also some dead ash and declining ash and white pines and the actual works building. Those trees have been marked.
Okay.
Hazardous to the trail. And Belmont Park was one. Brookside Park had a few that are up on the hill. Now there's numerous ones up there that are potentially going to fall. We're going to cut the tops off and leave the logs as wildlife snags. Activity. Those is snag. Biking distance, soccer, class recreation. Sawmill property. Sawmill road property, excuse me. There's very, very large ash there. So I can, Carol, I can send you this list. Public Works and we just.
Okay.
So it's a total of, if you want me to give the totals real quick.
Yeah.
So we have Brookside, we have 8 ash. Stony Brook, 12 ash. Sawmill, 3 ash. Belmont, 1 ash. Township building, 2 dead trees in the parking lot. 5 ash in the back.
The ones on Stony Brook.
Stony Brook is, we have a little tiny plot of land that developer.
Where the wall is and all along that edge there.
Yeah, so it's along the wall. It's only a real narrow, but there's
Because I was thinking, you were saying when you Stony Brook, the ones that the homeowners own on the other side, they're all ashes and they're dying too. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're talking about them? I'm like, they're
Nah, we
homeowners.
saw those as well.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, these are on township. We own a little swath of land there,
yeah, where the wall is, because I know they maintain the sidewalk there and all
but
that
every
stuff.
adjacent neighbor has ashes.
Oh, yeah, I know.
galore.
And down below that, there's that whole group down near the circle down there. Traffic circles, really bad down there.
Banning. And the
I know.
problem is now, probably know this, Rob, is three guys are not climbing them.
No,
So if they can't get to them with a bucket truck, a scissor lift.
you can't. They're too hazardous. I tell all my customers that.
They're walking away.
I have the guy across the street has a huge one right at the curb line. And the whole top half of it's dead. It's like, I think he's just waiting for it to drop something and let the township come in and take it
Now,
down.
what's our,
Oh,
What is
I
the
don't-
policy on that?
yeah,
I got a question from the standpoint of. I don't know if it's the right time to say this or not, or should we do it later? Probably just better to do it later, always later.
You've already said it. You've
Yeah,
already
go
said
ahead.
it, so continue.
Corner of Gradyville and Bishop Hall Road. There's a stand of ash trees. There must be 20 in there. Massive trees that are in serious decline. Is that a township thing to go to them and say something has to be done?
So if it's within striking distance of a pedestrian thoroughfare. Act public safety, yeah.
So it's the road. There's
No
no,
sidewalk,
it's
road.
not, there's no sidewalk, just
There
road.
is a road.
Oh, it's, yeah, and
Okay.
the traffic backs up there every night. I mean, if something happens, there's a storm.
Then Rob, what I would do if I were you, I would get a picture of the area, locate the address and send it.
I'm gonna recuse myself because that's my neighbor.
No, well, I mean, maybe. they
Well,
don't
no, I
know.
mean, I just see that
Maybe
they're
some
dead. I mean,
people are just-
they probably don't even know they're that bad,
Yeah,
you know?
that's. 9
Well-
times out of 10, that's the case.
Yeah,
There's a number of ash trees along Gradyville Road on private property that are in that state.
oh, yeah, I know.
The
But I
only
mean-
issue-
Well, everybody's
the
actually,
only
listen,
issue we have that is one time years ago. I got sued because I was asked to review a tree. For a township. Private property that they thought was gonna hit. Area where kids congregate for the bus in the morning. It's not a bus stop, but it's like a generalized location where the parents drop their kids off. So I knocked up. Told the people about the tree, told them I was authorized to come here. Township. Told them about the tree. 2 weeks later, a tree in the back failed. I was sued because I didn't notify them of the danger. Back of the problem. So.
Well, I mean. There are so many ash trees that are street trees in the township. I would say the bulk of them are on private property. I mean, I just think it's. I don't know what we're going to do about that. You know, given the state of where we are with the infestation. I mean, it's just. I don't know what.
I mean, it's getting to the point, obviously, something's gonna have, I mean, these trees are gonna start failing catastrophically. You know,
People are gonna get.
and people are gonna get hurt. I mean, they get to a point, I mean, they're to a point now, some of them are, you know. Like you said, climbers won't go up, but we won't, I mean, I won't send anybody. You know, it's bucket, whatever, you get a crack lift in or whatever you have to do to take it down, or crane or whatever, but you're not. Free climbing, I think they're just too brittle.
They have a habit. They're on the hook either way. Go around, not them on. I mean, if you see it. That's fine. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
That's
I
how
don't,
we handle
like I said, I don't know, what the protocol is for that, they are there. And there's a ton of them.
How do
You
you
know.
parse it out? Because they're all over the township. How do you gauge which is more hazardous than?
Well, if they're stone cold dead and they're overhanging the roadway.
Well, there's
I mean,
a
there's
lot of those.
well, yeah, I mean, as you see them. And they get reported. I mean, that's all you can do. That's just a bad area, because trees come down there all the time, just normal trees.
All Washington.
Tree fell across the 30 bypass, yeah.
Yeah, I was coming up the other day from up Bishop Hollow down near where the state park is. There was a big tree last Sunday. Big tree was all across the road.
Yeah.
Came around the bend, it was right there. I'm like, oh,
Part's still there today.
what's that?
Part of it's still there.
That was it?
Drive by it.
Education.
Maybe we can work on some wording. I can put it into my next newsletter article. Okay, cool.
Anything else, John? Okay. All right, well, Cindy's arrived and I was wondering, so we had skipped over report from EAC and I was wondering if you had anything to report out from the EAC at this point? Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Okay, well then we'll move on to number 8, approve permits. So I don't think we have any regular private property permits to review. Is that correct, Heather? Okay, great, thank you. And then, so moving on to land development review, discuss some possible action on Delaware County Veterans Memorial Action, Joyfor, Newtown Village Land Development Application, Marville. All right, has everybody had a chance to take a look at it? So, John, did you want to go over your?
I mean, they had some things they had.
Okay, and so those white ash that are on the property, those are what's coming down, is that, and then they're doing the tree replacement, is that correct? Okay, okay. I appreciate you trying. They're pretty trees.
That area.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really the only trees that were there. Have any questions, comments?
What's that, where the new building is or where the
No.
other part is?
No, it's where this
Right here.
building's gonna go, yeah. So this is gonna be the
White
veterans.
pines that were planted before. for-
Yeah, they were there. Yeah, they planted them as a visual screen for the sewer treatment facility, is my understanding.
That's because they're ozone intolerant supposedly. I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah, they're supposedly in the nurseries, they're supposed to pick them out as they see them. Like they're yellow when they're in when they first start to grow them and they pick them out, but they miss some.
Yeah.
Never heard of that one before, did you?
Okay. So someone want to make a motion? Okay, all right. I'd like to make a motion to approve recommendation of the Delaware County Veterans Memorial Association Joyfor Newtown Village Land Development Application for the Veterans Memorial. Have a,
That's just for that thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the other
No.
part, right? Exactly.
all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right, motion passes.
Step one, go.
Yes,
That can be. Yeah, not included.
okay,
So.
Isn't there a whole bunch of trees where they're gonna make the connection? And
So they are, all of them know.
okay,
And I asked them. Don't believe they.
okay, all right, okay. So, I agree. Yeah, I read through it and I saw that there was nothing for us to review because they didn't include it. All right, and so thanks for taking a look at that and reaching out to them.
Well, they're gonna connect the two driveways, right? Behind the one building. I think it's all wooded there, isn't it?
Not the area that. Supposed to be. I'll show you.
Right. Okay, all right. So, for item 9.2, we are not taking action on the Subbio, is that how you say it? Land development application because of the incompleteness of the application. Are you going to the planning meeting? So is someone going to communicate to them? Do I have to go? Because I really don't want to.
No, they have.
All right, so,
Oh, yeah, they have.
all right.
Okay.
all right. Okay. All right, so future land development review. So we're not taking any action on Garrett Williamson or Sawmill. Okay. Any new business? Nope. Hey, old business. Discuss possible action on the fall tree planting with EAC. I think Carol and John, you were coordinating with EAC on that one.
Yeah, we haven't done anything since last meeting. We haven't gotten there yet.
So did you want to report out on your meeting and just to clarify, the reason why we're partnering with the EAC is because we have these mutual goals. And a lot of what EAC does and what Shade Tree does overlap. So it only makes sense for us to coordinate on these efforts, and besides, many hands carry a light load. And it's a lot of work. So we appreciate the EAC support and help with this venture. So did you want to go ahead and talk about what you and John met and went over?
Well, we've met with members of EAC twice so far. Basically, we have realized that we need money in order to do this. So we're still, we're still in the process of looking for funding for the event. There is no funding for this year. So we're going to see what we can do without funding, I guess. We're also looking into sources for plant material and the sizes, and so it's still a work in progress.
And then, so this will be,
Have we tried a bake sale yet?
are we not, so we're not planting in this fall, it'll be fall of 24, is that what we're shooting for?
Well, we should be having something better by then, let's
Come
hope.
on up.
Cindy Mahalo, 87 Hunters Run, Vice Chair of the EAC, appointed liaison to Shade Tree. I'm here because the chair of the EAC has appointed various EAC members to act as liaisons to different boards and commissions in the townships. So I have been assigned this as a responsibility, and I am here in fulfillment of that responsibility. Secondly, the township has set a goal of planting 1,000 trees. It is my understanding, and Trish, you can tell me if I'm correct, that the Shade Tree Commission has oversight over all tree-related activities. The EAC totally respects that oversight. We have no intention to overstep our bounds. We also realize that you made it very clear at a meeting last year with Steve Neese and members of the EAC and the Department of Public Works, that while you had oversight over tree planting, that it was not one of your goals for last year to coordinate any tree planting. So in subsequent conversations, it was decided, as you said, that the EAC and the Shade Tree would coordinate on this. I've been attempting to share information that I'm aware of. The information that I have become aware of most recently is Karen Wilball, who is the Delaware County Conservation District Watershed Specialist, called a meeting, a phone meeting with representatives of Newtown Township, Haverford. The Upper Providence person didn't show up, and there was another person there who I'm not sure they were. But the Conservation District is exploring what role they could play in acting as a partner, because they are an official partner with the Keystone 10 million tree planting effort, which, as I've said before, makes available free seedlings, tubes, stakes, zip ties, etc. It has become more clear that Newtown Township resides in the 4th priority area, which means we are lowest, which means that as the trees which are set aside for the fall tree planting are made available in waves, they come to us last. They are first offered to top priority, which is the center of the state, because those counties, their watersheds drain directly to the Chesapeake Bay. And we are the furthest from the Chesapeake Bay, so we are the lowest priority. So when that happens, that means two things. That means that the list of trees that are available comes to us last after it goes through each of those previous waves. And it's also been picked over the most. So we generally have the least selection. And also we cannot predict what is going to be made available. We can guess based on what happened last year, and we can guess based on what the initial list is, but we will not know until the last minute. So, and I mean, like maybe sometime in August, maybe, and then the trees would probably arrive sometime in September, and the exact arrival date is not firm either. It's like you get a day or two notice of when all your trees will be delivered. So based on all that, those considerations would have to be weighed in any effort to make these trees available to the members of the general public, and they would have to be accompanied with education so that the trees are treated and cared for properly, so we have any hope of survival. So that's the latest information that I can share.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Cindy. And I do want to express my appreciation for your participation in our meetings and being our liaison. I think it's very important. I mean, I think we have a shared mission overall. We know that trees play a very important role in our community and to help improve our environment, in which support. So our little portion of that is to support you all in your overall, because your mission is way broader than ours. And so we appreciate your expertise and lending your time to help support these efforts. And so I find it very valuable, and I don't think we can do it alone. We're all volunteers. Working together is the only way we're going to get these things done, if that is the will of the township. So I want to thank you so much and helping out. So, okay, so what do we want to do then for this year, given that sounds very hard, you know, or uncertain? Do you have a suggestion?
Just to back up, I should also add that at the most recent EAC meeting, we talked about a budget planning for next year. And I would suggest, Trish, that you coordinate with Sheila
Okay,
to talk to her about the tree planting funds. Sheila did make a request for funds to subsidize the purchase of like 5-gallon trees. Carol, these are the ones basically that John Rice had mentioned at his when we were at our meeting. So she's put some funds in there for that. It's more money than we've never asked for money for this before from the EAC. And she has some scheme about dividing it between, you know, the cost between the shade tree budget and the EAC budget. I'm going to leave that up to the two of you.
okay,
Personally, and I've said this many times, I do not think that tree planting is a budget item that should be on either the EAC or the shade tree budget. I think it should be absorbed by the township, put under Public Works, perhaps even under MS4. If the projected cost of MS4 is going to be over $1 million over 5 years, I would think they could find a few $1,000s for tree planting, since planting 1,000 trees is part of the MS4 plan.
right. Thank you. Your kind of point on this, Carol, what are your thoughts for this year? Would you rather us, I mean, I am happy to talk to Sheila about making that budget request, or maybe we haven't asked for any kind of significant money like that. That sound, how much was, okay. So if we split it. Okay, so,
Yeah, I think you probably have to talk to Sheila first and
Yep.
see
okay.
what you guys can come up with.
And it's my
money-wise.
understanding though, that we need to have put in our budget request soon. Right? So I thought we were supposed to do that at this. July. Okay. All right. So all right, so an action item that I will do is I will coordinate with Sheila. And I do think it would be helpful to have some clarity from the township on what are their goals under the MS4 and and get direction from them on how they would like us to help support that effort. Because I don't know, I kind of feel like we're asking for rocks and rock. Okay. That would be great. Yeah. And I mean, because certainly we would like to support their efforts. I mean, I've been informed on a few occasions that while what efforts that we're trying to do to plant trees here locally through our grassroots efforts are kind of a drop in the bucket in the overall MS4. And what we're doing is more in line with education in that regard. So instead of really having a significant contribution to the MS4. So even with the 1,000 trees that we're trying to get planted. And I kind of feel too that it's almost, I mean, just so we had some earlier conversations before the meeting started about, you know, the number of ash trees and things that we're losing in the township due to the emerald ash borer. And you know, it just kind of feels like we're exactly. So I don't know, maybe we need to have a larger conversation about what that goal is in light of some of these significant obstacles that we're facing with some of these invasives. But yeah, if we could, if Andy, if you wouldn't mind reaching out and just kind of asking just how can we support the effort and what their vision is for how we could do that, and or if we can or we can't. And then we could maybe pivot to outreach efforts and then just focus more on education. Okay. All right, so I'll be happy to do that. But I do like the idea of, you know, I think we had talked about some of these areas where either PICO had come in and had to take out trees, and then working with some of those property owners. And then I think we're in agreement. I think we talked about, you know, some of those trees for the Keystone, they're just little seedlings, and that probably wouldn't be the best. And so that's why we sort of pivoted away from that to maybe having a request for a budget to purchase trees so that we could help augment and offer those trees to private property owners so that we can improve and increase the number of street trees in these areas where they were depleted. And then that's kind of pulling double duty, because one, we're getting street trees planted, and number two, we're also helping to facilitate some education about the value of trees and the importance of the trees and maintaining the tree canopy in the township, which is, you know, the goal of the tree commission. Okay. Thank you. Right, so we're not going to take action at this point. We will next month. Okay. How's it coming? We're on to 12.2 discussion and possible action on tree inventory.
Still have to get trained on the thing. I never really been trained.
When are we doing the training night? Did you coordinate with John about?
We did talk twice, about a day that works.
Okay. Yeah, but we've been getting in tons of applications. That would be ideal.
Maybe I just have to go to work with you.
All right, so do we want to pick a date? Because this is getting a little ridiculous. That's just a little tough for me. So when is our next meeting? The
27th of July.
is it? Oh, yeah, okay,
What's that?
Yeah.
Thursday?
yeah.
I don't even know if I'll be here. My son's getting married in 20 minutes.
Tell him to change his
Well, the
way.
rehearsal dinner.
Your priorities are misplaced, man. Okay.
Trust me, I'd rather be here. It's cost me a lot more for the rehearsal.
All right, What about the 20th? Can we do the Thursday, the 20th? It would be better for me if it was 5, and then I don't have to take off work. Is that good for you?
Sure.
We'll kind of note out,
And John. So Dave,
Hilbert,
Okay, sure.
July 20th. 5 o'clock, you're at the township. And since there's probably gonna be more than 2 of us or 3 of us, that's kind of, or we're probably gonna have a quorum. We'll need to announce that we're. That'll just give us, want to do that? Okay. I like that. All right. All right,
Trucker
we'll
Park, I thought
revise
you
that.
want to show us that big ash tree.
Ken's running out of it. So
Here, here's a pencil.
She want a pen?
I gave
no,
her.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. All righty. What's going on with the ordinance? Anything, Andy?
all I can tell you is I reached after the last meeting. Don't know that I got any direct conversation back,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that a number of ordinances, we have 2 new interns.
Okay.
That are specific focus is with these grants. So we had a separate meeting with Mr. over there, so I was only a part of the zoning application,
Okay,
but I do believe that giving them some draft format to see that there is some progress.
okay, all right,
Timing of it, I think.
okay. Okay, yeah,
2020.
well, and I mean, honestly, I had assigned myself a task and I haven't had a chance to work on it myself either, so I'll give him a little grace.
And I do think that, I mean, that's still a possibility. That would definitely help because I know how I'm working with you, giving them, I suggested changes, having them insert those. We're needing to look at that.
Okay,
Where I'm handing it off to actually. I think that's the best solution for them, because ultimately, they're going to be the one to take the final.
okay.
So if we get started with.
Yeah, I will reiterate my commitment to going through the ordinance and coming up with something in track changes and. Yes, Heather was kind enough. Yeah, Heather was kind enough to convert it for me because after I asked her, I was like, oh, here's that little button that says convert to Word. Oh, duh. Yeah, I got it. We're good. We're good there. Okay. All right, excellent. Okay. All right. So the farmer's market. So, we're supposed to volunteer, I think, for it, and I thought, wasn't there last year there was a doodle poll or something or something that went out and then you got to sign up, and I don't think I ever saw an email. All right. My bad. So what are your all's plans for the summer? I know you're not available late in July. I'll try to find a date that isn't like in the middle of, like we did last year, and it was like in the middle of August, and it was really hot. Try to find if there's anything that's available. Do you have any plans that I would need to work around? You wanna?
Yes. Started
When is
first Friday.
It's Fridays. It's Fridays from like 3 to
September, I think.
3 to 5, something like that.
Started three, yeah.
Once you go to the ball. Up trees.
I like that idea. All right. Okay. So Trish will. Okay,
June.
all right. So, possible action on the land development review application. So we have a couple. So we have one, I'm fine with the one, like where we're making a motion and what our recommendations would be. I think that worked well for Stony Knoll. Except I think there's a typo on here. Somebody, I think, isn't that the old engineer?
The new one.
No, that's a new one. Okay, good. Okay. Right. I think that one's okay. Do you guys have any problems with that?
this one?
No, this one. That's, I'm skipping orders. Going backwards.
This one?
Yeah, the make a motion. So this is what we use for Stony Knoll. So when we made our decision and we made our recommendation on the project, but with conditions. So what we ended up doing was filling this out. We said recommend for approval, you know, what the number was for what project. And then we wrote out what the conditions were, and then we submitted that to Heather, and then that goes to the planning board. So under 158-10, we're supposed to provide our recommendation to the planning commission in writing. And so I think that suffices for that, is my understanding.
This format. Because of the timing. Of
Yeah.
Your meeting.
Well, I can go right to them from here.
Well, we're talking about this one, motion one. And then, so this is the one I came up with because I use this because I went through the checklist of everything that's in the ordinance that we're supposed to be looking at. And for me, it just made it a lot easier to have it on here. This to me doesn't have all the information that's necessary.
I think this is great, even when you use internally
Yes,
for the ease of your review.
yes,
I think it's
okay,
for this meeting, whenever you're making a recommendation, I think this is what we want.
yes,
For ease and
Yes.
consistency, you can make your recommendation, your motion.
Okay. okay,
So I mean, I do plan review all day, every day. And I have a form that I use by the UCC, and it outlines all the different categories. I use that as term.
right,
The applicant never sees,
right,
and then I document my comments based upon my notes on that.
right,
So I think that this is more appropriate.
Okay.
Ever one of you or all of you want to review the application,
okay. So it was sort of, I was sort of delegated the reviewer of the land development plans. He refused, so he said, no way, man, so.
that's what Rose.
Well, if Rose says so.
But that's not all she says.
So, I mean. This one didn't help me much. This one helped me more. Because there were so many things, because there were things that really what stood out to me is that where chapter 104, it clearly states that there are certain that whatever is the more restrictive section reigns. So for me to keep that straight in my head when I was reviewing it, doing this with more detail was more helpful. And then John had a good point too, though, even if we had something that was
Rose, tell us something.
that it was, I'm trying to get us out of here. That, where was I? That we could share this maybe with applicants so that they knew how we would be evaluating their project.
I think that's, and I think that for the review. That's gotta be, I think this provides you could go through and make sure in your mind.
Right.
You're hitting all the high points.
Right,
I think that you could simply share that with John,
okay,
and he can add that
perfect,
within his comments.
gotcha,
Because I really think that in order to convey the information, way, if you send one review letter through John,
and then he goes to applicant, yeah,
and it should
Yeah.
address all your concerns.
absolutely, yeah, because I don't feel 100%. Yeah, I don't feel 100% comfortable. I mean, because I'm just a volunteer. And I think official, and I'm a little uncomfortable using my own personal email to convey, business of the township per se. So, yeah, exactly. So,
The only thing that I would like them, if we change the heading, I would like them to have it part of drive. So that they
Okay.
can cover. Up there.
well, that's
We want them
right.
to have a-
exactly. Yeah. So if we can provide them with, I can modify this and make it a checklist for them.
Like you have like 20 there.
I don't think that the town should have any concern with adding this to the application
Okay,
as a way to help the applicant.
Right.
Complying with the first submission. I mean, ultimately, I think that that's why we have the ordinance.
right.
But since, especially until everyone gets used to the process, I think it would be helpful to have some direction,
Okay,
and that will provide the
Yeah,
applicant.
it's also gonna help people that understand that we have very strict. Like. Verb.
right.
Yeah, basically, they have to put all the fencing up and. I'm an applicant, and they know that oak tree. Heritage. Let's move the driveway. Curb that. I guess will help them. For action.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that was helpful with Stony Knoll because there were so many large trees that required the replacement. And so I'm happy to revise this so I can have this as our internal, like the shade trees internal checklist. Then I can have one that's more generic that is helpful for applicants and maybe, and then you guys take a look, but maybe provide,
So what we can do is, whatever document you read, finish document,
Mhm.
We can add that to the website.
Okay.
which, under our application section.
Yep.
We'll attach a hard copy with our paper copies of theirs.
Right,
So it'll be in both places. So
Okay.
if someone would go to our website, download the land development application. Attach.
okay,
If somebody comes in and picks it up. it'll-
okay,
That's it, the IRS one. That was crazy, wasn't it?
yes.
It
Yeah,
was like 6. That was. They had some really large private
okay,
hotel around issues
right,
such as edges. Have this, yes, section 4.
right.
Section 4 is a no, you're back to section 3, it was like.
So,
It works for us, that.
so it was almost like a dichotomous key.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like Form 1099.
Okay, all right, great. Well, let's try not to make it that complicated. But, all right, so, all right, well, I will do that, for sure. And I think that would be helpful.
Trish.
Yes, sir.
Don't mark the trees with an X.
Yeah.
No, on, like, on site,
So that's what the plan,
oh, just on the plan,
just on the plans, you
put in it anyway?
it is, but we're making sure it is, but this.
Oh.
checklist- the
Oh, I thought
checklist-
they were gonna like X them, no,
Oh, no, this is for the checklist. This is for to make sure that when they come in front of us, the plans and notes, X's. But that's
Alright.
not shown on the plan.
Right.
Or, just so you know, this is not the ordinance.
I understand that, but I'm saying is, the way I read it was, they're gonna X the trees so we can see which ones they're gonna cut down on site.
On the plan, on the
Well,
plan.
it's that way anyway, usually. I mean, any plan I ever read was on there,
It is, but this is checklist.
no,
This is just a checklist.
This is to make sure that.
So it's make sure what they have on the plan, they have everything that we need for our review and a quick turnaround
I
on the
just thought that
plan.
was
I
pretty
just need
standard.
to walk through line of video for Rob.
Oh my God. All right. All right, okay, all right, well, that sounds good. I'm happy to do that. And John, if you see that there's anything that can be improved on this, please let me know and we can tweak it. I think that's, I cut and pasted this right from the ordinance, so.
So, just.
Mhm.
When you finalize that draft, you do have to submit it, make sure it's approved to publish.
Yes,
Yeah.
so do you have to, it has to be like 508 compliant and all of that, right? And, all right, and then, so I would like John to double check it to make sure we have everything
Send me your
correct,
version, which have 2 versions. His version,
and then ours,
and it could be to say applicant checklist, verify, client,
right?
whatever. Ours for.
Mhm.
With areas for us to put those in, guys, can those scan them. I'll put, if I haven't already covered them, I'll put your.
Okay, all right, super. Great. One thing too, would it be helpful to also share this with the planning commission? Just because, it seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect between what or a misunderstanding of our roles. So I'm going to have a meeting with the chair next week. But I think it would be helpful if, which we'll probably do at the committees of committee meetings next week as well. But it might be good for Shade Tree to kind of give an overview presentation quickly on the high points of the ordinance so that they better, as a group, better understand what our role is and why we're,
Well, we could probably add that next one.
okay. All right. And that was something I was going to talk to Kurt about. He thought it was helpful, but I think that would be easier because then there wouldn't be and then that would give them an opportunity also to ask questions. So, And we'll have to do it as it is written now. So, okay, can do that. All right, sounds good. All right, so do I need to take action on this, correct? Okay. All right, let me get my head straight here. Okay, so, like to make a motion to, recommend approval on the land development application review sheet, for, I don't like this one though. Have to use this. We have to approve this. It's not helpful.
Is there anything usable on there that you'd like to make?
It's already in here. It's already in my detailed one. But this was the one that was kind of written by the township.
Well, I think this,
Basically, it's a starting point. Right?
I think this first sheet.
Okay, all right. As are both of these. Okay, so all right, so let's rewind. Start over. Sorry. All right, so we'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the land development application review sheet. The two that are provided, we will use internally amongst the Shade Tree Commission, but we recommend that the form, the make a motion form, will be used to communicate the Shade Tree Commission's actions and recommendations to the Planning Commission. Do I have a
First,
second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Sorry, that was long and I apologize for that, very convoluted. Thank you. So, could I amend it to say that I will make a applicant checklist? Well, do I need to make a motion on that one? Or that's just what. And we'll have that for, maybe we'll have that for next meeting. Put that on new business. Trying to get us out of here. Okay. All right, so we had talked last month, moving on to the 2024 budget request. One of the things that we had talked about last year, I believe, was perhaps trees. So I'll work with to purchase some trees for the plantings, working with the EAC. So that was one thing we had talked about. The other thing we had talked about was perhaps maybe getting another iPad to help with the tree inventory so that we could divide and conquer. Did anybody, we have a, we do have a budget sheet that we're supposed to fill out. So did anybody, I could have sworn that, maybe was that John we had asked? I'm sorry, I'm having a tough time reading. It was Tom, okay. So,
Oh,
We-
no, I didn't
For-
have,
for
I
what,
didn't
the
have any
budget or
names
for the-
attached.
I was supposed to do like shirts and
oh, right. So we were gonna have
Banner.
tree purchase, that's right, the DVH tape, a banner, another iPad, name tags, maybe a brochure. Or shirts. I thought it was name tags, whatever. If you want to do shirts, shirts are good.
Farmers market shirt or something.
Yeah,
right?
sure. All right, shirts.
I asked my wife, she said, talk to Heather.
All right. Yeah, okay, so I don't know who was supposed to report back out on that. So how about if I just, I'll send an email out to everybody, but don't reply all. And then whoever was supposed to get back to me, I'll ask them to get back. And then
That's for next meeting.
and we're gonna have to. We're not there. I'm sorry.
What kind of information are we supposed to be finding?
It's prices,
We gotta find prices for these things.
and then we put it,
So, and then we put it in the budget request form. That then will go to Steve. And we were given that budget request form at the last meeting.
it was given.
Well, somebody was
I
supposed,
think, no, I think we got it at our organizational meeting.
yes, you're right. Right here.
Okay.
Here you go. Oh, you got it. Look, all right, so, all right, all right.
Meaning
So-
the wrong one.
Okay. Right, so who wants to take point on this?
Never written a budget before.
None of us.
Oh, goody.
I've got two big things on my plate right now, and I'd really appreciate it if somebody could, because if I'm going through the ordinance and I'm working on the checklist.
Rob, you wanna take it? Oh, we can go over.
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay,
We just, whoever who has what. I mean, I had the shirts and banners and stuff like that.
well, we
There's
have
the iPad.
put on your, do you want
Oh, yeah,
this one? Okay,
Yeah, but you can always put it in. They can always deny it, which they probably will anyway.
the only thing that I was thinking is that if we had two, then if Tom had one. Okay. Okay, yeah, because I was just thinking if Tom had one and then Rob had one, and when they had time, you guys could go out and just do it as at your convenience. If,
That's why. That is why.
all right, point well
You
taken.
just have to say, John, it's one of John's jobs and I have to go out and price the trees and I can look at all the ones you want.
All right, so
But
do
he'd already done the inventory by then.
you have your budget sheet, or do you want to
No,
take
you've
this?
got one.
All right, well, I'm giving it to you.
Right?
No,
No,
We have to stay in our lane.
but they get things done. All right.
hold on, I'm writing it down and I'm giving it to,
Me?
giving it to you, because you're gonna take lead.
Thanks for stuff.
Voluntold.
Usually John writes when he's not.
Well, there you go. All right,
Just call me Rob Bower.
All right,
okay. All right,
3, 4 in the morning, okay? Usually when you're
all
up.
right.
You're not- you have another copy of that?
I've got an unadulterated one here. We can. Who wants to
I think
copy
we
it?
have one of these meetings.
On
Monday.
next Thursday. Next,
Rob will have to catch
Thursday.
up and.
It's
Tell
Thursday.
I won't. This is gonna go in here, it'll probably stay here till I call you. Does that
Am I
do
gonna have to
anything?
nag you?
Yes.
Heather, can you tell Rose to nag Rob to do the budget?
He's
All
done
right,
that
thank
for
you.
30
All
some
right.
years. Hasn't helped.
Yeah, all right. All right, and then we already had a discussion on the action possible removal of dead tree on township property? Or, because didn't we already talk about that? Okay. All right, so we did that under the arborist report. All right, do we have any commission comments? Oh, okay, yes, please. Yes.
For a
Hmm. Love it. So are there, do we have like, a local college that has ag?
we have,
Oh, so they have, oh, they,
they have a work program.
oh, they do, okay. Okay, okay. Okay. I like that idea.
You mean to put that into the budget for next year?
Yep. You're gonna be working with John. I'm giving everything to him.
You're writing stuff down.
But interns. That's right.
I thought interns were free.
All of them. Really? I was one of those people, all in fishnets. Oh. Kids are spoiled today. All right. Items for next agenda. So we're gonna have the budget report from Rob. Okay. Inventory. So I guess under old business, I'm gonna have I'll have the ordinance review to submit. Kind of kick that off. And I'll have the checklist for applicants. Land development. What else? Want to have follow up on, so I can report. Well, I'll be reporting to you the results of the conversation that I had with Sheila on the budget. Or the budget,
Okay.
or the tree. So if we're gonna have a tree budget.
Farmers market. Development.
Yep. Yes, I've got that. So the checklist for the applicant, why did I put it? Just on kitchen.
Don't forget your permit.
I will get the permit.
Still look up.
Renovating my kitchen, Andy,
You
will
just
be
paint-
coming in next year. All right, checklist.
The land development application.
I got that.
Farmers market.
Farmers market.
Next month.
Yeah, I'm just gonna report out what day we committed to.
No, I mean, for the end of next.
That's
that
what
what
we're
you're
working
writing
on
out?
right now.
Oh, and we can also work on.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, all righty. Any public comment?
Cindy Mahalo, 87 Hunters Run. As you're considering budget items, one thing you might think about in terms of public education is I know that it was George Sherritt's vision for Gable Park to become an arboretum that could be used as public education and inspiration and teaching people about native trees. There is intentionally a very wide variety of trees planted there. And I know he was hoping that people could go there, walk around, look at the trees and be inspired that they could possibly plant these trees on their own yard. So I forget where I was recently, and they had, tags on trees, don't cost very much. It'd probably be affixed by wire. I think that would help fulfill your public education efforts. Second item is there was an email that was received last week from Bruce Killen about a very large tree that was removed on Dunmading. He sent a written report and photographs, which was forwarded on, and I wondered what happened to that.
So that was a tree that we had previously reviewed and approved to have removed. So we provided clarity, and I think Andy cleared everything up, had communication with that developer, and John had gone out on site, I believe, at some point, or you had some communication, I don't know.
Oh, 27.
Yeah.
You're talking about with Emerson.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that tree, that place line. I didn't know what their plans were. I said, okay, you got
And was that communicated back to Bruce? Bruce is the former chair of the EAC, and he had sent a written report expressing concern about the tree removal. I think we owe him the courtesy of explaining.
Sure. I didn't know if maybe Andy, did you? Okay, all right. I will be happy to convey that back to Wayne.
Bruce Killen.
Bruce Killen.
No,
I'm
there've
so
been a
sorry.
lot of tree
Yeah.
removals on Dunmading that he's been quite distressed about, and some of them have been without approval.
Okay,
So other than that.
Yes, over the last year or two, lots of trees have been removed.
that was the only one I remember reviewing.
Well, that's just it. You didn't review them, but I don't know the details. You could ask Bruce about it.
All right, I'll follow up with Bruce. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He would love that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, he was on the EAC for 5 or 6 years, and he was the chair.
I know that.
For- Mhm. Okay.
Well, I think she's talking just in general, the whole neighborhood trees were taken.
Not,
The entire neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, she's not talking, no, she's,
I'm talking about up and down the street,
Oh.
across the
come on,
street.
John, follow, will you?
Yeah,
See, I got it back.
yeah, the neighborhood, the neighborhood.
No, it all depends what, Cindy, it all depends what size tree it is, where it's located on the property too. One tree can be removed. I mean, if it's not a heritage tree, it's pretty much people can do what they
And if
want.
it isn't a street tree,
Yeah.
we don't have
I mean,
jurisdiction over it. And that's the problem. So we,
Mhm.
right,
Okay. Okay.
that's part of the restrictions that we have. And then like even right now, the ordinance says if they're removing a certain number of trees of a certain size, then it would fall under, but it's my understanding that the township no longer wants that in the ordinance. So that's something that I think that the solicitor is looking at revising. And likewise, we're trying to clarify exactly how to measure from the road into the property so that we know what's in the right of way. So because saying a right of way is really unclear for a lot of homeowners because each road around here measures the right of way a little differently. And
Yeah.
some of it requires actually standing in the middle of the road and then measuring out. So we're trying to come up with some, that's part of the reason what prompted the revision to the shade tree ordinance is because of the lack of clarity on how to determine what's the right of way. And so we're trying to come up with some more simplistic measurement. And so again, like to Rob's point, the ordinance only goes so far. It's to protect the shade trees, heritage trees, but there's more, we have more authority when it comes to land development. So that's why oftentimes we will get, we'll call, like when I called because I heard chainsaws and there were a number of trees coming down, I made a call. And so they ended up being ashes, but they still came in, got permits because they were removing a certain number of trees and it was in their backyard. So we have, it's a little unclear. So I don't think the shade tree ordinance protects every tree on someone's property. It's only certain size trees, certain number of trees, and in certain areas of that private property.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for the explanation. And the third item you may have discussed before I arrived. And that is, I live in Hunter's Run, which backs up to Stony Brook Boulevard. And in walking along there are many, many dead trees. I think I counted a dozen
Yeah, that's,
just between Bishop Hollow. Oh, okay. Okay, because I know they were out there surveying the property line last week or so. No, okay, great. Yeah. Yep. Okay, yeah, I had heard that you guys were on top of it and just wanted to say it's really sad how many dead trees there are. Question. Are there any instances in which you would snag some of the trees instead of like removing them to almost?
Yep.
Okay. Mhm. Entirely intact or taken down to a certain height? Yeah, 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 okay. Okay, okay, thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. All right. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at
Sorry, did just the tree on the tennis topic? Yeah.
gavel now. All right. All right, meeting adjourned. 6:20.